Agnes Martin. Just hearing her name evokes feelings of peace, serenity, and silence. Her minimalist paintings, often composed of soft grids and subtle washes of color, exude a calming aura that invites viewers to slow down, breathe, and just be. But beyond the surface of her artworks lies something even more profound, a deep, personal connection to Zen Buddhism. How did this philosophy of mindfulness and simplicity influence her? How did it shape the very essence of her creative process? And what can we, as viewers, learn from the quietude and stillness she offered to the world? Agnes Martin, a Canadian-born American artist, 1912 to 2004, remains one of the most important figures in the history of abstract art. However, her journey wasn't just about making beautiful things. It was a spiritual practice, a form of meditation, and a way to connect with the transcendent. For Martin, minimalism wasn't just an aesthetic choice, it was a reflection of a philosophical outlook on life. Her work is so much more than the sum of its simple lines and muted colors. It's an invitation to experience the present moment, let go of distractions, and connect with something deeper. Embrace simplicity and stillness. Subscribe now and join us on a journey of mindfulness through art. Zen Buddhism, the quiet force behind Martin's art, though Martin rarely spoke explicitly about her relationship with Zen Buddhism. Its influence runs like a quiet stream throughout her body of work. Zen, a branch of Mahayana Buddhism, emphasizes direct experience over theoretical knowledge, encouraging practitioners to engage with the present moment through mindfulness and meditation. How fitting is that for Martin, whose art is all about creating spaces where the mind can rest, even if only for a few moments. Martin's quietude wasn't just reflected in her art but in her life. She led a largely reclusive existence, often retreating to the solitude of New Mexico, where she could escape the noise and distractions of the art world. Can you imagine leaving the bustling art scenes of New York City to live in a desert, where silence reigns? But for Martin, this move was essential. It was a way to cultivate the mental stillness required for her creative process. In Zen, silence is considered a path to self-awareness, a way to quiet the mind and become attuned to the deeper truths of existence. Martin's life mirrored these teachings, as she carved out space for herself to connect with the deeper layers of her being. It's worth reflecting on how rare this is in today's fast-paced world. When was the last time you allowed yourself to sit in stillness, without the constant barrage of information and sensory overload? For Martin, the quietude she sought was not a luxury but a necessity. Her artwork was an extension of this silence, offering a kind of refuge for those willing to engage with it. Meditation in the creative process. Art as Zen practice. Have you ever thought about creating art as a form of meditation? For Agnes Martin, the act of making art was itself a meditative practice. In Zen, meditation isn't just about sitting quietly, it's about becoming fully present in whatever you're doing, whether it's washing the dishes, sweeping the floor, or, in Martin's case, drawing lines on a canvas. Her process was slow, methodical, and deeply introspective. She would often spend hours in silence, waiting for inspiration to come, rather than forcing herself to create. This approach is so different from how most of us live today, constantly rushing to meet deadlines or check off tasks. Martin's way of working reminds us that true creativity comes not from pressure but from a place of openness and receptivity. What if we approached our own creative endeavors, or even our daily lives, with this kind of patience and presence? How much more mindful and intentional could we be? Martin once said that her work was not meant to convey personal emotions or stories. Instead, she sought to access a higher state of consciousness, one that transcended the ego. This is a key aspect of Zen practice, which encourages practitioners to let go of attachment to the self and become one with the present moment. In her minimalist works, we can see this detachment from the ego. There is no emotional drama, no overt symbolism, just pure forms and subtle lines. Yet these simple elements have a profound emotional impact on those who take the time to sit with them. In the same way that Zen meditation invites practitioners to sit in silence and observe their thoughts without attachment, Martin's paintings invite viewers to engage with them on a deep, contemplative level. The influence of sunyata, nothingness and the void. In Zen Buddhism, there is a concept known as sunyata, or emptiness. This doesn't mean that nothing exists, but rather that everything is interconnected and lacks a permanent, independent self. Everything is in a constant state of change, and nothing has a fixed identity. This idea of emptiness can be unsettling at first, but it is also incredibly liberating. It reminds us that we don't have to hold on to rigid ideas about ourselves or the world around us. Instead, we can flow with the natural rhythms of life, embracing impermanence. Agnes Martin's work embodies this idea of emptiness in a profound way. Her grids, for example, are not rigid or exact. They are hand-drawn, often with slight imperfections, which make them feel alive and dynamic. These grids can be seen as representations of the infinite, the void from which all things arise. Rather than being empty in a negative sense, they are full of potential, inviting the viewer to experience a moment of pure perception, free from preconceived notions or distractions. Martin's embrace of emptiness is also reflected in her rejection of representational imagery. She didn't want her work to be tied to any specific meaning or narrative. Instead, she wanted it to be open, allowing each viewer to bring their own interpretation to the piece. This is very much in line with Zen teachings, which emphasize the importance of direct experience over intellectual understanding. In the same way that Zen koans are meant to break down our habitual ways of thinking, Martin's paintings challenge us to let go of our usual interpretations of art and engage with them on a deeper, more intuitive level. Minimalism as a spiritual path. Simplicity in the Zen aesthetic. Minimalism is often associated with coldness or detachment, but in Martin's case, it was a deeply spiritual choice. Her work was all about stripping away the excess, getting to the essence of things. In Zen, simplicity is not just an aesthetic preference, it's a way of life. Zen teachings encourage us to let go of unnecessary attachments, whether they are material possessions, thoughts, or emotions. By focusing on what is essential, we can experience the beauty and truth that lies beneath the surface of things. Martin's minimalist grids and subtle colors invite us into this space of simplicity. At first glance, her paintings may seem plain or even boring. But when we take the time to really look at them, we begin to notice the subtle shifts in tone, the imperfections in the lines, the way the grids seem to vibrate with energy. This is where the magic happens. Her work isn't about making a grand statement or impressing the viewer. It's about creating a space for quiet reflection, where we can tune into the subtleties of our own perception. In Zen, there is a concept called wabi-sabi, which refers to the beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. Martin's work embodies this idea perfectly. Her grids are never perfect, and that's exactly what makes them so compelling. They remind us that life itself is imperfect, constantly changing, and full of surprises. By embracing this imperfection, we can find beauty in the present moment, rather than constantly striving for some unattainable ideal. Silence as a teacher. Martin's approach to the creative process. One of the most profound ways Zen Buddhism influenced Agnes Martin was in her approach to the creative process. Martin often spoke of the importance of silence and stillness in her work. She believed that art should come from a place of deep inner quiet, rather than being forced or contrived. In Zen, silence is seen as a powerful teacher. It allows the mind to settle, making space for insight and awareness to arise. Martin's studio was a place of solitude, where she could immerse herself in the creative process without distractions. Can you imagine spending hours, days, even months in near-complete silence, waiting for inspiration to strike? For many of us, that would be incredibly difficult. We're so used to being constantly connected, constantly doing. But for Martin, this stillness was essential. It allowed her to tap into something deeper than her own thoughts or ideas, something transcendent. Her process of waiting for inspiration mirrors the Zen practice of zazen, or seated meditation. In Zazen, the practitioner sits in silence, focusing on the breath and observing thoughts as they arise, without attachment. This practice of non-doing, of simply being present with whatever arises, is at the heart of Zen. Similarly, Martin didn't force her creative ideas onto the canvas. Instead, she waited for them to emerge naturally, allowing the work to unfold in its own time. This approach to creativity is so different from the way most of us think about productivity. We're often taught that we need to work hard, push ourselves, and force things to happen. But Martin's work reminds us that sometimes the most profound things come from a place of stillness, from letting go of control and simply allowing the creative process to unfold. Embracing impermanence, the beauty of transience. Another key aspect of Zen Buddhism that deeply influenced Martin's work is the concept of impermanence, or anicca. In Zen, impermanence is not something to be feared, it's a fundamental aspect of life that we must learn to embrace. Everything is in a constant state of flux, and trying to hold on to anything, whether it's a material object, a relationship, or even a thought, will only lead to suffering. Martin's work beautifully embodies this idea of impermanence. Her grids and geometric forms are never exact or symmetrical, reflecting the natural imperfections and changes that occur in the creative process. These imperfections are a reminder that nothing in life is fixed or permanent. Rather than trying to create perfect, static works of art, Martin embraced the imperfections in her process, allowing them to become an integral part of the final piece. This embrace of impermanence is also reflected in Martin's attitude toward her own work. She wasn't attached to the outcome of her paintings. For her, the creative process was more important than the finished product. This is very much in line with Zen teachings, which emphasize the importance of the present moment and the process of becoming, rather than focusing on a fixed end result. Martin's use of soft, muted colors further emphasizes this sense of impermanence. Her works often evoke the feeling of fleeting light, like the softness of dawn or the fading of a sunset. These moments of transition and change are where true beauty lies, according to Zen philosophy. It's not in the grand, fixed moments but in the subtle, ever-shifting play of light and shadow, color and form. Art as a path to enlightenment, the spiritual dimension of Martin's work. For Agnes Martin, art was not just a form of self-expression, it was a deeply spiritual practice. She often spoke of her work as a search for inner truth, rather than a reflection of the external world. This inward focus is central to Zen Buddhism, which teaches that true enlightenment comes not from external validation or material success but from deep introspection and mindfulness. In a world that often prioritizes fame, success, and outward achievement, Martin's dedication to her inner world is incredibly refreshing. She famously said, "I paint with my back to the world," emphasizing that her work was not concerned with the events or trends of the time. Instead, she sought to create art that connected with the eternal, the timeless truths that lie beneath the surface of our everyday lives. Her paintings invite viewers to engage in a similar process of introspection. They don't shout for attention or demand immediate interpretation. Instead, they create a space for quiet reflection, where one can momentarily escape the distractions of the material world and connect with something deeper. Like the practice of Zen meditation, Martin's work encourages a shift from the noise of the external world to the silence of the inner self. Martin's paintings are often described as serene, meditative, and calming. But they are also challenging, in the sense that they require the viewer to slow down, to be fully present, and to engage with the work on a deeper level. In many ways, her art mirrors the Zen practice of Zazen, where the practitioner sits in silence, observing their thoughts and sensations without attachment. Similarly, Martin's paintings invite the viewer to sit with them, to observe their subtle shifts in tone and form, and to engage with the work in a way that goes beyond mere visual appreciation. In this sense, Martin's work can be seen as a form of active meditation for the viewer. Just as Zen meditation encourages practitioners to become more aware of their thoughts, emotions, and surroundings, Martin's paintings encourage viewers to become more aware of their own perceptions, feelings, and responses. This process of quiet contemplation can lead to moments of insight, clarity, and even enlightenment. Conclusion: finding peace in the quiet spaces of life. Agnes Martin's art is not just a collection of minimalist paintings, it's an invitation to experience the present moment, to embrace imperfection, and to find beauty in the quiet spaces of life. Through her deep engagement with Zen Buddhism, Martin created works that transcend the material world and touch upon deeper spiritual truths. Her minimalist grids and subtle, meditative forms offer viewers a space for introspection, reflection, and mindfulness. In a world that is often noisy, chaotic, and full of distractions, Martin's work serves as a reminder of the power of simplicity, stillness, and mindfulness. Her paintings are not about making grand statements or impressing the viewer, they are about creating a space for quiet contemplation, where we can momentarily escape the distractions of the material world and connect with something deeper. Martin's work invites us to slow down, to breathe, and to be fully present with the peace in front of us. It encourages us to embrace the imperfections in ourselves and in the world around us and to find beauty in the moments of transition and change. By integrating Zen philosophy into her art, Martin not only transformed the world of abstract painting but also offered a pathway for others to experience the profound peace and clarity that comes from mindfulness and meditation.